As of right now, we do not yet know who the next president of this crumbling settler colonial imperialist empire is yet. And isn't it just fitting? This country became the global behemoth and schoolyard bully that it is by oppressing and disenfranchising hundreds of millions of people for the benefit of a few European settlers and their descendants who didn't care what was done to the people who were here before they were, as long as they and their progeny could reap the benefits of that culling. And somehow people today are shocked. Shocked, I tell you, that half this country, that progeny of those settlers, doesn't care about kids in cages and 230,000 dead from a viral pandemic that could have been slowed with government-provided PPE and clear guidance and support, and doesn't care about white domestic terrorists roaming the streets, killing anti-racist demonstrators, and the host of other bile oozing out of the mind of their white supremacist messiah, Donald Trump. I'm seeing people condemn folks for being selfish, for letting this man possibly get away with another 4 years in office to do more of this. Well, of course, the people who voted for him are selfish. They kept telling you that they're selfish. They've been telling us this in the entire history of this country. They like that they're selfish. And I don't know when we're just going to believe that at least half of this country is fine with the marginalization of people not like them, as long as their paltry little stock values don't suffer. And I do say paltry because these people aren't the 1% or even the 10%. No, most of the people who support Trump are working class and poor folks like you and me with a healthy representation of what's left of the American middle class. Those people who love and benefit from capitalism, even as that same system ravages the lives of the rest of us. They're the loan officers and the landlords and the investment bankers and the small business owners who love those tax breaks from Trump and the way the stock market responds to his policies, and they don't care that the cost of their windfall is the lives and the rights and the freedom and the dignity of other people. No, y'all, they don't even care that other Americans suffer as a result of their support for Trump. And I don't know how the realization of this in this moment is any different from the entire history of this country and all the atrocities committed by and for those original settler colonists and their descendants. Same thing, different century. And I keep seeing dumb and delusional stuff from Democrats like, we're all in this together and we're all Americans and we need to unite the country. And I just want to rip my locks out and throw them at these people because this is dumb. It's dumb, considering the fact that as of now, over 66 million people who call themselves Americans are really fascists, and they have voted for an open fascist twice now. And this is after turning a blind eye to the everyday regular fascism of the growing police state, growing economic oppression, and the disenfranchisement from political representation of the working class, poor, and oppressed masses that has been committed at a steady clip throughout every single president's tenure in this country. This is why I talk about this history, y'all, not because I'm trying to enlighten people as much as I'm trying to show you that George Jackson was right. Fascism is already here, and we have been living poor, butchered half lives because at least half of this country likes it that way. And more than half of the rest of the country has consistently failed to act, to change any of it. And then every 4 years, they're shocked, I tell you, that the overt fascists can get away with the electoral victories and the political victories that they do and convince themselves that the dismissive incrementalism of the other party isn't another form of fascism. More than half of the Americans who are supposedly not fascist, like the Trump supporters, are really exactly like what Martin Luther King Jr. said, people who are more devoted to order than to justice, who prefer a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goals you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro, it was back in the day, to wait for a more convenient season. Of course, King was talking about white moderates, and guess what? So am I. Listen, the discussion about Black men who vote for Trump and 50 Cent and Ice Cube and some random Black or Latinx celebrity or petty bourgeoisie expat from Venezuela or Cuba or Colombia is nothing more than a deflection crafted by white moderates of today who would rather blame an infinitesimal percentage of outliers in marginalized populations of people for Trump than take a good, long, hard look at their own preferences for supporting Democratic candidates who told us not to let the perfect be the enemy of the good while selling us things that they said were good, but were not ever really good for us. The things that they said were good, that they sold us, was good for only them and their pockets and the pockets of their donors and the private investment and corporate interests who told them they'd fund their campaign as long as they didn't make any policies that put more money in people's pockets so they could live better lives or fully and equitably fund public schools so all kids could have a quality public school education, but make sure that the real estate tycoons and landlords and business interests and for-profit education entities could make money off of poor and marginalized people's pain by calling their money-making schemes an investment in an opportunity zone and school choice. Democrats support those policies. People may not want to hear this right now, but you need to. As obviously horrible as half of the American population that clearly wants and likes and profits off a xenophobic, racist, repugnant strong man are, and let's just stop trying to appeal to their better selves because they have told you that their better selves are wrapped up in the stock market, not social issues. Half of the America that's left claims they're better than those folks and are actually not because they keep supporting Democratic politicians who sell working class, poor, and oppressed people out over and over again. They're the white moderates that King was talking about, and they will always be if they keep voting for these politicians who keep telling working class, poor, and oppressed people, not now, not this way, not this much. And telling those people that they must vote for those politicians to save us all from someone worse who they are afraid of. Regardless of which capitalist imperialist ultimately wins this round, to rule the settler colonial project that is America, as much as this election is a referendum on the absolute fact that there is no United States of America and that we are not all in this together. And no, we do not all see ourselves as Americans. It ought to also serve as a referendum on the utterly failed strategy of white liberals to choose to put racial, gender, and economic justice on the back burner to address the alleged greater threat to democracy that they believe the other party poses, while blaming the oppressed when their weak plans fail yet again. Y'all bet not ever say, "What have we become?" ever again. We keep telling you that this is what most of this country has always been, and y'all liberals have been exactly this bad all this time, too. Follow Luke Mon Nation on patreon.com/LukeMonNation for lots of great content.